Hello. All right, so today's recipe is jackfruit tostadas. I've made jackfruit tacos before, but I just had this feeling to make some tostadas, reminiscent of my childhood. So what did I do last night? I soaked my organic whole pinto beans all night with really high purified clean water, and then I double rinsed them, and this morning right after I woke up, I started to cook the pinto beans. So I have this big beautiful pot of pinto beans in here that I cooked with, actually it's my mother's and my grandmother's recipe. I cooked the beans with pasture-raised bacon, or sometimes you can use ham hocks, so obviously vegans, bye-bye. And then I also threw in half a organic onion and garlic, and some fresh sprigs of, just kind of ripped them, of cilantro, and then some salt. So I boiled them, and then after they came to a boil, I simmered them for about probably at least an hour and a half, an hour or 45 minutes. And they were soft, not crunchy because then they're not cooked. And they're nicely soaked and ready to go. Deliciously flavorful. I had a little cup earlier. So tostadas are different from tacos because although they both use corn tortillas, which is what I'm going to use, these are from Food for Life, and they're sprouted organic corn tortillas, non-GMO corn, right? So when you make tostadas, you know, everybody knows, or a taco, everybody knows what tacos look like, or tacos. They're little half shells and you fill them. Well, the difference between the taco and the tostada is the tostada you just fry flat, and you make like a little, as you'll see, I don't know, like a flat piece of cornbread or tortilla, and then you start layering it with the fillings. Ooh, let me move this over because it's smoky. So the fillings for the tostada are, first of all, traditionally is refried beans. So I'm going to refry the beans, and I'll show you how I do those. And then after you put refried beans, and you start putting your fillings of either meat, in this case a seasoned Mexican flavored spice seasoned jackfruit, and then you can top it with you know, queso fresco or cotija cheese, which are all Mexican cheeses. I chose not to do those because unfortunately at this time I couldn't find any organic. So what I did is I decided to buy some organic Greek feta cheese. So, sorry about that. So I'm going to use feta cheese, but hold on one second. Let me clean that up because we don't like to step on stuff in the kitchen and slip. So there's that. But anyway, and then I'm going to top it with cheese, and then I'm going to top it with a little teeny tiny, those leftover organic heirloom tomatoes. I have some little tiny yellow and red ones that I chopped up, and I kept them in tiny little wedges because I think they look beautiful. So the tomatoes, and in the place of boring a non-nutritional lettuce or iceberg, I'm going to use the super greens. Okay, so toppings are the lettuce, the super greens, the tomatoes, the feta cheese, the refried beans, the jackfruit, and then some slices of avocado. So, that said, as you can see, I have my mise en place. Once again, everything in its place. I'm going to make the jackfruit with some yellow onion, just slices, some minced, not roughly chopped garlic. Here's the jackfruit. Okay, so what is jackfruit? Jackfruit is a really big green knobby piece of fruit. It's pretty big. They're actually bigger than your heads, and they're heavy. They're from Southeast Asia, Africa, I think Brazil, Australia, and even down in Florida. So they grow in the tropics, and they're very nutritious in that they're rich in iron. What else? I can't remember all the time everything I cook and what the benefits are, so I have my notes. Sometimes I tape them up here if you haven't noticed. Anyway, so they're rich in fiber, vitamin C and A, forget the R, and that was from the scallops the other day, or whatever else I made. And they have a lot of protein in jackfruit, so vegetarians, vegans, woohoo! You know, you can rock on with the protein in the jackfruit. And then they also, for the health benefits, are they benefit your digestive system. So they help the digestive system, they increase your energy levels, and they also help your immune system. So that's the notes for the jackfruit. Toss that aside, and let's get started. So this pan was already heating. It's on medium low. I'm gonna turn up a little bit higher to like medium. And then I'm gonna throw the onions in there. And so we want to cook it just until the onions are soft. So maybe I'll turn it up a little higher. Could have started cooking these before I started talking about all the benefits of jackfruit, because they would have been already cooking. But this is how it goes. And the oil that I chose today is duck fat. Once again, you can use any kind of oil: avocado oil, coconut oil, grapeseed oil. What else? What else do I use? Coconut oil, ghee. Today is duck fat. I don't cook with any other oils because I don't think any of them are worthy to be put into my body. So these are just going to start softening up a little bit, and I may have to add a little bit of oil. It looks like I will, so let me do that right now. Grab it, my fridge door here. Okay. And here's the duck fat that I use. It's from a company called Hudson Valley Frogois Duck Products, which is a very optimal company. They're from New Jersey. And so if you're not vegan or vegetarian, I highly recommend this duck fat. It's phenomenal. And I get it at Clark's down in the desert. And I think there's a Clark's in Riverside. It's a huge tub, and it's only $12.99 at Clark's. It's a great, great price. Better than anything I've seen online. And I'm going to add maybe another tablespoon there and let that melt up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. You just kind of want to stir it, make sure everything's kind of evenly placed in the pan until you can stir it up again. And while that's cooking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start refrying my beans. So and then I'm going to add the garlic too. So that's probably about, that's about 4 heads of minced or finely chopped garlic. Okay, so the main flavors in the jackfruit are onions, fresh onions and garlic, and then I'm going to start adding some more spices, and I'll show those to you in a second. So let me get these out of the way because we want to keep things in order while we're in the kitchen. I'm just going to rinse them and stick them out of the way. There we go. So that'll keep cooking on medium heat. Oops, lost a couple there. I'm going to throw them back in here while I start cooking the refried beans. Okay, so here's a scoop about the refried beans. The beans are already cooked. They've been cooking all day, soaking all night. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I've got some more oil in here. You want to put a little bit of oil. I have probably about a half a tablespoon of duck fat again. Duck fat is the oil of choice today. And then here's my potato masher to help smush them up. So usually what I do is when I scoop them out for myself, I use a ladle to ladle them out. But I don't want a whole bunch of that broth. See all that water, which is lovely. It's very nutritious. Okay, the juice in there. I don't want a lot of that in my pan. It's going to splat anyway. So I'm going to use a slotted spoon. In this case, this one. So what I'll do is oops, I turned it off by accident because I was thinking about the one in the back. The back burner was starting to smoke, so let me turn that off. So this will be on medium as well. And then I'm just going to get these out of the way for now. Here goes. I'm going to take a scoop and then drain a little bit of that beautiful, delicious broth and just dump them. See, can you hear that? And it's okay to have a little bit of broth juice in there because in my experience, watching my mother and grandmother make these beautiful beans, if you don't have some juice, then what happens is they get dry. So I'll add a little bit in a minute. Let me mix these up and turn the heat down a little bit because getting nice and toasty. You don't want them to overcook on one side. They look beautiful. They smell incredible. I don't know. I always enjoy the smell of garlic and onions. It reminds me of my childhood. Reminiscent of the good days growing up with all that beautiful, wholesome cooking in the kitchen. So let me start mashing these first. So they're called refried because I obviously put them in some oil and kind of, you know, they're not really being fried, but kind of a little bit, beginning anyway. Now they're just getting mushed up and they're blending with the oil, so they're getting even more flavorful, that duck fat. So you just smush them. If you don't have one of these potato mashers, you can use, like, I don't know, the back of a cup or something. It seems like everybody has at least one potato masher in their house. And then everything kind of sticks, so let me rinse this off real quickly. Then we'll go back to adding a little bit of the broth, the bean stock, if you will. So they're not so dry. So I'm just going to take a little bit here, and I'm going to dump them in there. And I'm going to mix them again. Let's see, I'll use this one. Because I want that beautiful, beautiful broth to blend in with those beans. Because like I said, if I didn't add the broth, I was going to say chicken stock, the bean stock, then they'd be really dry. But see how they're getting nice and moist? And then now I'm going to turn them off. Because my pan is hot, they're going to stay a little bit warm and they're going to be fine. Okay? I'm not making a whole bunch because this is going to be just a small recipe to show you how it's done. So let me get the beans out of the way and then finish with the jackfruit. Don't want to ignore the jackfruit. So these look, oh yeah, look at how nice and caramelized. Okay, so those are getting a little brown, as you can see, which is lovely because that means that they're becoming caramelized. Kind of like a little caramely, crunchy on one side, but soft on the other, which means that the natural juices are coming out, or the sweetness. So now I'm going to drop the jackfruit in there. Okay, so let me move that out of the way. Stir it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add my spices and a little bit of leftover broth that I have. Because see how dry it is? You don't want to eat it dry either. Okay? So I have a little bit of leftover bone broth stock that I made. It says you can go vegan and use vegetable stock. And then that was about a half a cup. I have a combination of spices. I have some salt. This is a combination of Mexican spices that I bought at the grocery store. This organic Spice Hunter Mexican Spice Global Blend, which has comino, chili pepper, paprika, I can't remember what else, but mostly comino, and garlic. Those are the main ingredients of Mexican food, garlic and comino. So, in a perfect world, I would have ground my own garlic and come in, but maybe I'll do that one day with the mortar and pestle like my mother and grandmother used to do, but this is just fast. Oops, sorry about that. Fast pace here. So this is going to continue to cook on medium and soften up a little bit. And I'm going to expedite that in a minute when I cover it with something. But for now, what I want to do is I want to add one last thing. Let's see, it's this right here. And a little bit of lime juice. Okay, a little bit of lime juice that was already juiced earlier before the camera started rolling. Get that out of the way. And then here's the touchy part. This stuff, this is going to knock your socks off because it totally knocked mine off. Let me show you what it is here. This is what it is. Chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. Woo! This is when you put the toilet paper in the freezer, boys and girls. Trust me on that one. It's hot. It's spicy hot. So, that said, I'm just going to take a little teaspoon here. And I'm not going to add a bunch. There's some chili peppers already in here that are kind of whole. So maybe I'm just going to grab a little, see, barely like a tablespoon. And I'm going to throw it in here with a little bit of the sauce, this chipotle sauce. And trust me on this one, it's gonna kick it up a notch like no other. So let me just kind of break that up. And in a perfect world, I would have taken this out and I would have put it on a cutting board and chopped it up real fine, but I didn't. So now I'm gonna just really blend it and let this cook for a while. So remember, all my spices are in there, my Mexican spices. You can buy that, a little jar of already blended Mexican spices at the store to make it easier for yourself. You can buy vegetable broth or chicken broth or bone broth and add that as your broth. You can add a little bit of lemon juice and then your chopped up jackfruit, which you can buy in cans at the local health food store and at the Asian markets. I like it from the health food store because you can find non-GMO jackfruit. So see, I was just kind of blending that. So let me put that aside and then just do one last blend before I put a little lid on it. And that's just gonna simmer. I just want you to know that basically the jackfruit's already cooked. It just needs to heat up a little bit. And in a minute, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mush it up so it can become more shredded. I don't have a proper lid that fits, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this. It always seems to work. It's a little magic. All right, so the beans are done. Now let's get that tostada tortilla fried up. The finishing last touch. I turned the oil off because it started smoking earlier. Don't want to blow the house up with the propane, so let me be gentle with this. And sometimes that happens, so here's what we do. Just kind of bang it. Try it again. Okay, well, you know what? It's okay, no big deal. Like I said, these aren't edited. You're getting the real shit here. Sometimes the shit happens in the kitchen. I'm gonna test that one out. Okay, well anyway, that one's not working. For some reason, I'm not going to worry about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it back here. No harm, no foul. All right, so now the tricky thing about this is that you want to be ready. You want to make sure the oil's hot enough, but not too hot where it's really smoking, because then it really gets jacked up and too fried. And then you want to have your plate with your paper towel ready, because when you take it out of the hot pan, it's going to drain here, okay? Perfect. Okay, so how do you know it's done? I'm going to show you how do you know the oil's hot and ready? I'll show you how. Get this out of the way. Actually, no, I'm going to need this. You're going to take a little, if you have a wooden utensil, then you stick it in the oil. And if you see little tiny bubbles coming up around it, which we, not really, yeah, little teeny tiny bubbles. See those real tiny bubbles? Okay, that tells you that the oil's hot enough because it's starting to heat up the wood. Just put that back, that'll drain. So now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my tortilla. The thing is that my grandmother's probably flipping over in her grave because two reasons. Reason number one is Grandma Celia was born in Monterrey, Mexico. She used to make homemade corn tortillas with, did I say tortillas? Homemade corn tortillas with masarina, real masa flour. And she used to make them by hand, roll out these little dough balls, and then she put them in this cast iron, silver looking cast iron piece of equipment, and she pressed them until they got thick and flat. So she made homemade corn tortillas and they were so delicioso. So she's probably tripping in her grave because I ain't making them homemade, but Abuelita, I love you. It's okay. Next best thing. So here we go, sticking them in the hot oil. Okay, see them bubbling? So you just want to make sure they're flat in there. And I'm going to bring the trusty tongs over. And then you're just going to let it, kind of toss it around a little bit. Because the whole point is just to make it, cook it until it's crispy. And then gently and slowly you want to turn it over so you get both sides oiled up. And then let it sit for a moment because it's obviously crisping and frying up. And then while that's crisping and frying up, my plate's ready to take it off, to take it from here to there so I can dress it. I'm gonna flip it one last time because the oil's pretty hot. It's gonna cook rather quickly. Some people like their tostadas really hard and crunchy. Some people like them a little softer. I like mine kind of in the middle. Because if they're too hard and crunchy, in my experience, as soon as you bite into them, because you hold it in your hand like a pizza pie, you can't use a knife and a fork. As soon as you bite into that tostada, it crumbles and breaks everywhere. So all your filling and everything goes all over the place, which is part of the fun, because then you just use your fingers to pick it up and eat it. Actually, you know what? This is getting really done. I don't have time to walk away, because I was going to go chop up a little bit of the super greens for my lettuce replacement. But so you kind of feel it. And kind of bend it. Okay, if I can bend it a little bit, it's still kind of a little soft. So I'm just gonna let it sit there for a moment. Turn a little bit, maybe flip it one more time. And you could probably see the color, it's already turning nice and crunchy and brown. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's still a little soft. And if it's too soft, then what happens when you bite into it, then it becomes too chewy. So it's like you're going, and you're trying to eat the tostada, you know, pulling it away with your teeth. So you want to kind of find the middle ground. I feel that's probably the middle ground. So I'm going to turn the heat off for now. And I'm just going to let this sit here because it's going to drain on the paper towel while I go chop up a little bit of the super greens. Actually, let's check this out real quick. All right, that looks really good. You can tell, let me grab something here. All right, so you can tell that it's softer. So now I'm gonna take the same potato masher or bean masher, and I'm just gonna smush this up a little bit because what's happening is it's starting to break up the pieces of the jackfruit, okay? So it's kind of becoming more of a shredded consistency. And I tell you, whoever eats that big piece right there, is going to be running to the bathroom with the toilet paper from the freezer because that's going to be really hot. Anyway, I don't know why I even said that. Oh, speaking of gross things in the kitchen, here's something really gross. Okay, this is some real shit, y'all. See that? Yeah, what do you think that is? This is a paper towel with my blood on it because the knives were so sharp. My sister visited last week and she sharpened all my knives that I was unconsciously chopping away and I sliced my thumb on the corner right there. Nothing really bad, but bad enough to do this damage. And so you got to be really careful in the kitchen. I saved it on purpose, as disgusting as you might think that is. So let's just put it away for here. Right now, I'll throw it away later. So anyway, you keep smushing and smushing until you get it to the consistency that pleases your palate and your visual senses, which means, does that look shredded enough to me, Patricia? Maybe a little more. I definitely know I don't need any more of that chipotle adobo sauce stuff because it's already going to be spicy enough. Oops, dropped a piece on the floor. Pick that up later. That's when it's nice to have a dog around. Although it's probably not a good idea because the dog would probably eat it, then he'd be running to the bathroom with the toilet paper from the freezer. So you just want to be careful. And I must say that there's part of me's in a hurry because I gotta be somewhere by 6 o'clock, ready to rock and roll. So I'm kind of running out of time here, but it's fun. So anyway, smush, smush, smush. See how that's becoming more shredded, like carnitas or shredded chicken for those shredded tacos. Well, jackfruit, shredded jackfruit. I bet you Asians would trip out if they know that their beautiful Asian jackfruit is being turned into Mexican food, but hell, you know, we're all one anyway. Why don't we just blend all the cultures together? That'd be kind of interesting. Okay, so to me, that looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna turn the fire off right now and throw this in the sink real quick. Don't go away, I'll be right there. You know me, you gotta do that quick rinse because I don't want to get a bunch of scraped dishes later. All right, so then what I'm gonna do, don't worry about that, just ignore that. Shit's happening, I got a ghost in the kitchen with me. So right now, I'm gonna take the, thank you, Ghost. I'm gonna take the super greens and I'm gonna just rough chop them. Oh, and then I have some fresh cilantro that I already chopped earlier, because that's gonna go on top too. So cilantro, remember the organic feta goat cheese? The avocado I already prepped. I cut it in half, twisted it, opened it up. I already took my knife, and I don't know if you can see, but I cut lines in it like this, and I'll show you why. So I cut a bunch of lines in it, and then I put it back just to hold it so it doesn't get all brown. So there's the avocado, and then here's the baby tomatoes. So that said, doing good on time. I'm just gonna take a bunch of these greens here. I'm just gonna set them down, right, that's probably enough, a big handful. Then I'm just gonna take them in my hands. I'm gonna roll them like a cigar or a big fatty. Not that I smoke anymore. But anyway, and then you're just gonna take them. Don't forget to get your fingers out of the way and your thumb. And then you're just gonna carefully, I do not have fabulous knife skills. I am not a pro chef, but I can work my way through the kitchen. So I just know to keep those fingers out of the way. And I'm just kind of twisting these, holding them together. This is, technically it's called a chiffonade if I were doing it more professionally. But then I'm going to take them and I'm going to turn them the other way, and I'm just going to rough chop them. Because basically they're just going to be a topping. Okay, so we don't have to do anything fancy. Okay, so now here's the fun part. Let me just grab my little teaspoon. I'll be right back. Teaspoon, where did you go? All right, and then, so I'm going to come over here. Now, remember that tostada? Listen. Yeah, nice and crunchy. Okay, so now the beans are already cooked, heated, cooked, refried, add a little bit of broth so they weren't so dry. And then now I'm going to take a spoon and I'm just going to plop them on like that, and I'm going to smush them around. Okay? So you want to take a plop, it's a plop and a smush, and you're just going to spread them around like you're spreading peanut butter on a piece of bread. Although I wouldn't recommend it unless it's organic sprouted peanut butter. I wouldn't even eat the peanuts. I'd get almond nut butter and then gluten-free bread, because then it would be optimal treat. So there's my bean layer, and then I'm going to put on the plate, and then I'm going to come over here. Where's that little spoon? It's cool. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the jackfruit topping, like so. And you add as much or as little as you want. I personally like to make sure that everything's covered on top of my beans, especially if I'm serving a protein, because I have a tendency to like more protein because that's what my body calls for. And my animal spirit, the jaguar. Jaguar's the most feared creature in the jungle and has no enemies or predators. And what do? They eat meat. So I need my meat every once in a while. But this is jackfruit, so this will suffice for now. Okay, so then I have my layer of the jackfruit. Now I'm going to come over here, and with my fingers, because you just want to get into the, actually let me do this really quickly so I have them ready. Scoot over here, oops. So I'm going to use my fingers, but see, I'm going to take the spoon like this and stick it against the edge. Remember those beautiful slices? Make sure it's close to the edge, and then you just scoop them out. Look at that, see? Already prepared for me. I have 3 beautiful slices right there. Save the rest for later. All right, so back to this plate. Then I'm going to take my fingers, and you just start making your little, I did a faux pas. Actually, not really. You do it whatever order you want, but generally I remember growing up with the greens on top of the protein. And then the cheese. The greens at the time were lettuce, iceberg, because we didn't know any better, any different. We didn't realize that lettuce really didn't have any nutritional value. It's probably mostly water. I think they used it during the war to feed people or something like that. Okay, and then I come over and I add my beautiful tomatoes. Oh yeah. Gosh, I love seeing color. I'm a visual person. All right, so visual to me is a lot of beautiful, healthy, vibrant colors. So let's mix some colors up here, intertwine some reds and yellows, something like that. And then, let's see, take those avocados. Oh, now this is gonna be fun and challenging to eat. How do I know? Because I've done this before. The higher you make your tostadas, the more challenging it's gonna be to shove it in your mouth. All right, so what else? Last but not least, cilantro. Now, I will say this. I am not gonna put any salt on this, and the reason why is because before I got the camera rolling, I tasted the beans and they were pretty much perfectly salted. Some might say a little too much. I thought they were perfect. So I don't want to add any more. So here it is. Can you see that in the light? This is a tostada, a traditional dish in Mexican families. Grandma and my mom would be proud. All right, so here's the true test. And if you want, you can add a little bit of salsa or tomatillo salsa, which is the green, you know, or hot sauce, but I'm just gonna eat it like this because I know it's plenty hot. So what I do, I always come over to my counter, I set it down, and then I'm gonna grab a paper towel because something tells me I'm gonna need it. I don't think I'm gonna need the fork. So can you see that now in the light? Let me pick it up. Beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful tostada, homemade. That took me less than 30 minutes to put together. Yes, there was a little bit of prep beforehand, but it's all worth it. Homemade, beautiful, wholesome food, full of lots of love. All right, so before I eat it, I want to thank you. Thank you, Great Spirit, for this beautiful food that will continue to nourish and heal my body. Thank you, plant spirits. Vegetarian, vegans, if any of you are watching, don't forget the plants are alive too. Everything we eat is alive. Everything is energy. So it is my practice and ritual to bless the food, the spirit of the food. All right, so thank you so much. Okay, bear with me. Better get my hair out of the way. Here goes. Ah, tostada. Oh geez, I don't even know where to start. Oh my God. This is really exciting. It's exciting for two reasons. Because, first of all, I must say, because I feel, based on my experience, it's absolutely delicious. The jackfruit has, even itself, after being cooked, has kind of like a meaty consistency. And then you have your raw food with your cooked. So, and then you have your crunchy tortilla. So it's really fun. Lots of excitement going on in my mouth right now. All right, so if you liked it, please share it with your friends. I really appreciate your follow. Thank you. Adios.